Hey guys, today we are going to talk about lavender essential oil. Lavender is really kind of like, if you know what a Swiss Army knife is, it's the Swiss Army knife of all oils. It's one of the most versatile oils that you can have out there. And before I tell you something about this, I want to tell you that it is one of the most adulterated oils on the market. So you really have to be careful when you're looking at brands of lavender, because generally a good number, about 95% of what is on the shelves in the US is complete junk. Do you know that most of the lavender scented products commercially available are synthetic? And they do not give you the same yield as the properties that you're going to get from a Young Living lavender. What that really means is if you wanted to go and get like a $7 bottle of lavender somewhere, you might like the smell of that, but it's not going to give you the same calming feeling as if you used a drop of this. It's completely different. It's synthetic. And why would you want to put that on your skin and in your body if it's not going to give you the same feeling of what you get with this? Many times when I will pass this around a room and people smell the lavender, I have run into times, and this may be you if you're listening to this, where you smell it and you're like, that doesn't smell like the lavender that I think lavender should smell like. Do you know why that is? Is because most people are used to chemical lavender, not the real lavender. And when you start using this, you're like, oh, yeah, this is lavender. Like when I've been out to the lavender fields, I've been to 2 of the farms that have lavender. And when you can pull the stalks up and you put them in a little bag and smell what a real lavender from the farm is, you're like, that is what this is. That is exactly what this is. Lavender has more of that sweet floral aroma, and that's kind of what we're familiar with. Sometimes if you're like brand new and you're listening to this, I'll say take your lavender and you're going to simply like put a drop in your hand, and I have people just put it in your hand and simply smell it. Like I'll talk about lavender and I have people hold their hands up to their nose and smell that the whole time that I'm talking about it. And it just gives more of that like calming relief. Lavender is really, it's popular. It's been used for like many, many years. It actually takes 27 square feet of lavender plants to make one 15 ml bottle. So imagine that, 27 square feet of plants. And that is the only thing that is in this. When you look at the label, all it is the lavender. There is nothing else. If you go to popular brands, like when I used to go to a spa and I thought that they were a great smelling product before I knew about Young Living, and I kept a bottle for education purposes, and I got a lavender bottle. It was actually a lavender bottle, and you can look on it, and there was like 5 other ingredients. It says to not take internal. It has an expiration date, and when I smell it now, like 6 years later, it's rancid. That's because there's junk in there. So it really is important that you know where you're getting your oil from. Young Living actually has 3 farms that grow lavender in Utah, Idaho, and France. I've personally been to the Utah and Idaho one, so you can be out in the fields. Every one of us can go check out the farms. I was just talking to someone this week, and when they were comparing another oil that their company that they were with had, I'm like, okay, so tell me, where can you go to the farm and check it out? Well, they can't, because it's not like generally a real one. It comes from synthetic. Lavender oil is used, I like talking about oils with emotions. Lavender is a great one for emotional support, whether that means calming a crying baby, helping a child that has a temper tantrum. You are emotional. Many women, like we get emotional certain times of the month, or as we like get older in life, or the kids are running around, or we just need to calm down. One thing to know is there are many oils that you can use for emotions. And so like, yes, that's okay to use lavender, or it's okay to use peace and calming, or frankincense. Some days you may use, like my story that I want to tell you with this is I found frankincense worked with me and joy worked with me, and I was using them every single day for like a year, and it always calmed me down. So like when I was in my corporate job and things were stressful, and it's like I would use these oils and it wouldn't work. And one day those oils didn't work, and I kept putting it on and putting it on, and I was just like beside myself. And then I'm like, it popped in my head, what do you teach at class? If an oil doesn't work that you need for emotions, go back to your lavender. Go back to lavender. So I pulled lavender out of my purse and I put it on. Instantaneous release. So what happens is your body doesn't stay consistent. So while one oil may work over and over and over, some days your body changes. Like, what if like someone rear-ended you? What if you stubbed your toe? What if your child was screaming at you? We have different, our body reacts differently. And so sometimes that's why you want to have different ones in your arsenal. But lavender, if what you're typically using didn't work, go back to lavender, because it just works. So it is one of the most gentle oils. So I didn't have oils when my kids were little. I wish I did. It's a gentle oil that you can use. You can use this for perfume. You can diffuse it. You can put it in your bath water. Remember, if you're going to put it in bath water, don't just like pour it on top of the water. You're going to want to take Epsom salt and baking soda and put that in together, and just because it's going to attach to the Epsom salt and baking soda so it disperses. If you are in the kitchen and you're making cookies and you touch the rack in the oven, well, guess what? That doesn't feel very good. You should put lavender immediately on that. Anytime you do something around the stove or you're with your kids and that happens, lavender is an oil that you should always have in your kitchen. If it is summertime and you are outside and you got too much sun, lavender is great for that. I personally like to use the lavender lotion. Young Living has different product lines that have lavender, like the lavender lotion, the lavender bath bombs, the Lavender. But I'll take, if I've been outside in the summer or we're on a vacation anytime in the year, and I take lavender, put the lavender lotion in my hand, and then I put a couple drops of lavender oil, because it's going to spread farther, because I'm not going to take the lavender oil and pour it over my whole body. Get the lavender lotion and put it in, and then you can put it over your whole skin. The other thing that you can do is sleep. People tend to, like, sleep is a topic that people talk about. So when you need to sleep, what are some great oils for sleep? It's lavender, it's peace and calming, it's tranquil, it's the calm CBD roller. So you could put this simply on your kids' feet, rub it on the feet, put it under their big toe. You can put it on your wrist, and then I sometimes will swipe the pillow with that. I'll put it in the diffuser. Sometimes I like to mix peace and calming and stress away, or in lavender, or all three of them, or just two of them together. I'm going to give you a story, because this happened last night. So here's a recent story I can tell you. Last week we were listening to a Zoom video that Marcella Von Harding did. She was the top of like all three of our team's legs, and she was talking about, with her, lavender just works for sleep. And she puts it under her big toe. So if this is my toe, right under the big toe. Why under the toe? It's a reflexology point for sleep, for like in your upper, head in your brain. And so she talked about putting it under her big toe. So when we come up to the cabin, my daughter and I don't know how we got into this routine, but when my dad, Grandpa, is in bed, Ella likes to go up and let's play with Grandpa's hair, and let's kind of just tease him, right? Even though she's a teenager, it's still fun to do. And so last night he's like, no, I want to go to bed tonight. I want to bed. You guys got to go. And so I went and got the lavender, and I'm like, while she's playing with his forehead, I'm like, I'm going to just putz with his toes. And so I'm poking his toes, but I'm like, I'm going to take lavender. And I wasn't even thinking about it, but we had talked about Marcella, and they had asked, like, why is she putting it on the bottom of her feet? So I put this on the bottom of both of his toes last night. And then I had it in my hands, and I was putting it over his nose, because it was dark in the room. He couldn't see. And I'm putting it, he goes, what am I smelling? What is the stinky stuff I'm smelling? And I kept fanning it over. I'm like, it's lavender, it's lavender. And today we were out on the deck, and he's like, boy, whatever you waved in front of my face, I conked out last night. Like, I didn't even wake up to go to the bathroom. And I said, but Dad, remember, we also put it on the bottom of your feet. And you guys were asking what Marcella had said last week. I go, so tell me, be honest. Like, do you think you're just joking around, or did you really sleep? He goes, I didn't wake up to go to the bathroom, Kara. So you guys, like, it's finding one of these things that work. Maybe it's not lavender for you. Maybe it's peace and calming. But lavender is probably the first one that I give to people when they sleep. If you need other sleep, thinking about peace and calming, I told you peace and calming, tranquil, cedarwood, the calm roll-on, just know that. A couple more things, a drop in your mascara. I sometimes use 2 drops. So I personally absolutely love the brand new mascaras from Young Living. It has lavender in it. If you had an old one, if you're using something and it's okay to still add it, when you put a drop in your mascara, it will help your lashes grow. I really don't know anyone on my team that has talked to me about it anyway that has not seen a difference within 10 days in their eyelashes. So you could do a drop of the lavender, and you could do cedarwood. Cedarwood is great for hair growth too. So if you want to get a little more oomph, people like the big eyelashes these days, you can do that. One thing to know about lavender is if you don't know what oil to use, if you're new to oils and you hear people and your team leaders say like, don't go to the medicine cabinet, just put lavender on, it's going to do something for you. Lavender will always do something for you. You may not know what it's doing, but it will do something for you. So that is a great one to use if you don't know, like something, whatever you would go to the medicine cabinet for and you don't know what to do, lavender is a great oil to do that. A couple things I want to add in here because we're talking about lavender. It'll be really quick, but it'll take me about a minute to talk about through these, but wait till the end. Don't skip this because I have a couple DIYs that I want you to hear about. If you have a dog, like animals, like I have 2 labs, and so like I use this with dogs. Lavender oil can be used to promote healing of injuries. If you combine it with peppermint oil, it is said to be even quicker. Peppermint will drive that lavender in. So if your dog has any ailment, same thing with dogs, you can still use for humans too, but a lot of people have dogs and they just want to hear it being said. Lavender, if you have an ailment on their skin, you can use this. Lavender has an aroma that bugs don't like, so this is an option to use if you need something and it's in your purse and you're out by bugs. If there's any of the seasonal crud that your dog may have, you can use it for this. I want to add in, because I've learned this from Sarah, who will talk on here too, is like a lot of people like use the, if you're going to put in capsules with the Lavender Vitality, it's the same oil as this regular bottle, just when we talk about it and speak about it, but lavender, lemon, and peppermint, I do 4 drops of each. So seasonal, you can use that for seasonal. In humans, with dogs, you could simply just put the lavender on them. Anything skin, for whether it's you or whether it's your dogs, you can use that. Does your dog have the kind of a goopy eye? You know what? Put some lavender in your hand and you cup it over the eye. You can do that yourself too, guys. So just cup it over the dog's eye. You can do it to your eye. And you can just put it on when they need to sleep. So we had, I've done this to my dogs, and this is my favorite thing to do. Like when I first started doing classes and I had people over, my dog, they're 6 now and they were 1. So dogs are, you know, they're hyper, and they were in the kitchen and they were in their kennel, and like people would be in the house and like they're thinking it's time to play, and they'd be jumping up they're in a little kennel together. And I like, you guys, because dogs can't make this stuff up. So it was so fun to do this. When people were in the room, I would take the lavender and I would put it on their ears. So like if this was the dog, like right on the tips of the dog's ears, I would rub it in, and then I would just pat the back of their neck. One of my dogs, whatever the reason, she would sneeze. So it's just a given. Okay, Maisie's going to sneeze. And Lizzie would get this. But then literally, they would get it and they would like sink down and their paws would go out and they would lay down the rest of class. And you can't make this stuff up. So it's like people would be like, oh my gosh. So it is a fun thing to do with dogs. You could use Valerie, you could use Peace and Calming too. Lavender is the first one that I tell people to do. You can combine a cup of baking soda and 5 to 6 drops of lavender and let it sit overnight. And then if you put it in a shaker container, you could lightly sprinkle it into the dog's fur, just not their face, put it in the fur. So between baths, if you just want to kind of give the dog to like help if they kind of smelled or someone's coming over, or just calm them, I like doing that. So what dogs wouldn't love this type of thing too? Okay, so a couple DIYs I want to tell you about. I talked a little bit earlier about putting in the tub. Always make sure to use baking soda, Epsom salt. I generally use a 3/4 cup Epsom salt with a 1/4 cup baking soda. You know what, you don't have to measure, just dump it in approximately 8 to 10 drops in an 8-ounce container. I like, you could use just straight up lavender. You could do lavender stress away, lavender lemongrass. Those are great options that you can put in the tub. Dryer balls, we don't want to be using dryer sheets because of how horrible those are. Put it on a dryer ball. Same combination. So you can put this on a dryer ball and then your clothes are going to smell great too. And then a lot of people, like my daughter, she's a teenager, and sometimes she comes up with some great stuff. And so I call it one of her famous perfume smells. So she gets a little couple ounce bottle, a glass bottle, and she does 3 drops of peppermint, 12 drops of lavender, and then she puts 15 drops of vanilla. And then you fill it with about 3/4 full of water, and then you put 1/4 of straight up vodka. The reason that you use that is because, like, I don't drink, but you use the vodka because it's going to help with the hang time and sticking on you. And it smells awesome. So I kind of tell people that is a famous, my teenager's famous perfume smell, that a lot of people like that smell. And so that is a good one to do. So Bonnie, Sarah, anything you want to add in there?
So yes, I love lavender. Absolutely love lavender. It is great for sleeping. It is truly what Kara talked about, the go-to oil. Like if you do not know what else to do, do lavender. I do have a couple of stories with lavender. One is my mom burned her hand really bad on the stove one time I was there and said, grab the lavender. And she was just starting in oils, and she could not believe how the immediate relief that she got from that burn. And not only that, it did not ever blister and peel. And it was like, you know, touching the stove type thing. So it is one that you know, if I, for whatever reason, end up getting I mean, I'm usually pretty careful with my face, but I'm a redhead and my skin can get sunburned really, really bad. I will just, I don't even use the lotion. I just go straight lavender all over my face. And sometimes I'll add myrrh, and that will keep me from actually blistering and peeling. So, one of the things, and this is a little bit different, and that's why I want to share it here, because maybe you haven't experienced this or even tried it, because probably you would never think about trying this. But so, Kara talked a little bit about cupping a lavender over the eye if you have eye things. I have done this where if I have a sty in my eye, my son had styes in his eyes a lot, and if you put a drop of lavender just right under the eye, now it'll still water up because just even one drop that close to the eye, but seriously, it gets in there and it actually releases, does its magic. So if I have like a stressed eye or something, sometimes I will do that, or a sty in my eye. But here's the big thing. So I was reading, and this came from a vet that used oils, and sometimes we have horses, and sometimes, you know, in the summertime, horses get this gunky stuff in their eye. If it's windy or something, and they just start getting this gunk in their eye. And it's just, you know, it's nothing really big, but it's just you know, they need some relief from this, right? So this vet started using an eye spritzer. And what it is, it's 4 drops of lavender and in a 4-ounce bottle of distilled water. So you fill up distilled water and just 4 drops of lavender. And you hold it back. It's not like you squirt it right in their eye, but you like you know, you get back about this far and you kind of mist it, and the mist falls over their eye and it really starts clearing things up. So because we were doing that with our horses, I decided to try that for us. And I am telling you, you know, you think about, we're told don't get oils in your eye because it'll cause it to sting, and then you don't want to use water to wash it out because it'll sting even more, right? And that's true. It doesn't damage your eye, it just does not feel good. Like if you get something in your eye, an oil in your eye, and even if you get an oil close, like what I'm talking about, if I would put lavender, a drop of lavender under my eye, I know I'm going to be like kind of blinking a little bit and having a little, you know, weepy eye for a minute, but it does fix things, right? But I'm telling you, when you use that spritzer and hold it back, like I say, you're holding it away from your face about this far, and you do this on if your eyes are tired, it's like this amazing, you just let the mist come over and it feels so good. And it really does help your eyes like just relax. I don't know what it does, but it does something amazing. I'll just say that. So think about the lavender eye spritzer next time your eyes or one of your animals or something just needs a little bit of healing to their eye area, or relaxation, or just calming because it's irritated, you've been out in the wind or the sun, and just kind of irritated. That is it feels so good, you guys, so good. And then the other thing that I'll use lavender for, it honestly is my go-to for every kind of cut and open wound. And the reason is because lavender doesn't sting when you put it in an open wound. And so with my horses, that's like, where's the lavender? We put it, they get little nicks and cuts, and, probably your kids do too. That would be, I didn't have this when my kids were little. So, but it's my first go-to on any kind of cuts or little open wounds, cuts, scrapes, that kind of thing. I just get the lavender, run it out. And if you've got an actual cut, put your lavender on first and then add a bit of Melrose, and it actually will seal the wound for you. So those are my tips.
Okay, sorry. I was having a problem unmuting myself. I just want to add a couple of things to what Bonnie was saying and what Kara was saying as well about lavender. It's obviously an oil that we all love. And when Kara was talking about the purity, just if you have ever planted lavender and you've smelled the seedling, that's what the Young Living lavender smells like. It doesn't smell like the floral water or lavender that has been diluted with a carrier oil or any of that. So, it is very pure. And that's why, like what Bonnie was talking about, when you put it in a spritzer and you spray your face and you get some really close to your eye, it's soothing. It's not going to irritate your eye. When Kara was talking about putting it in her mascara, it's soothing to your eye. It helps with your lash growth and just having everything come in like rich and full because it's pure and it's not going to irritate your eyes. There's so many things that irritate my eyes, and I love how I can add lavender to our mascara, or it's added into the Young Living mascara now, and my eyes don't get irritated and they don't start watering and they don't get red from the lavender that we use. Emotionally and like mentally, one of the things that I really appreciate about lavender is when I started with Young Living, I was working a 40+ hour a week job. It was very, very high stress all day, lots of performance. If you didn't perform, you would get, reviewed and things like that. So you could get kind of caught in that fight or flight mode while being in a constant moving, adrenaline fueled type field. And coming home, you would have problems relaxing, especially if you did it day after day after day, which I was noticing that I was having a problem with. So when I first started using lavender, I actually didn't really like it because for me, I was just constantly in that fight or flight mode all the time. And what lavender will actually do is when your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system are flipped and you are not able to ever relax because you're kind of stuck in fight or flight, it'll actually flip you out of it and help you to relax. So that's how lavender helps you relax after a long day. So if you're in a high stress job or your husband is in a high stress job, or you're like in a high stress environment, diffusing lavender not only just helps you feel calm, but it actually helps flip you out of that fight or flight mode that you're in so that you can relax not just your body, but your mind as well. And that does a lot of benefit for your entire body, just not being stuck in that mode all the time. One of the other things that I really like about lavender is I'm a menace in the kitchen. I can't walk across a straight floor for some reason and not impale myself on something, or bump into an open drawer or find the hot pan, like the only hot pan, and touch it. So being able to use lavender topically on my skin, just for the way that it just helps speed up healing, and in wounds, like when I have stabbed myself, if you put lavender in first and you just watch it, it'll actually push anything that was introduced into the wound out. And you can kind of see that the blood stops and this like kind of clear liquid just like pushes out of the wound afterwards. So the next time you cut yourself, don't do it on purpose, but the next time it happens, put a drop of lavender on the wound first and just watch for that. And you'll see it's really cool. You can go look it up yourself. It'll actually just push all of that out. And then you can add your frankincense to it afterwards, and the other things that Bonnie was talking about, like putting myrrh, melrose, or animal scents on top of it just to seal it afterwards and speed up healing. But lavender is great, not just for cleaning wounds, but it's also really great for the immune system, for the way that it just keeps things clean. So I love using lavender for that. As a mom, when I was using it, one of the things that was always kind of annoying was just the sniffling noises that kids get. It just happens. Sometimes they don't really have much of anything other than an irritation, but their nose is running, and taking a little bit of lavender, like even just wiping the threads of your lavender and just swiping it under a kid's nose, just clears that up without having to use anything over the counter. Putting lavender, you know, obviously on their bedding and stuff, that's going to help them calm down. Putting lavender on your animals is going to help them calm down. But I really like that you can just kind of swipe lavender under the nose and it'll just kind of clear up sniffles. Sometimes it also works for a bloody nose as well. You just smelling the lavender. And then one of the other things that I think is cool about lavender is hiccups. So if you have hiccups, and you can't like get rid of it with the water, or like lifting your hands and it's just kind of stuck, one of the cool things to do is put a couple drops of lavender or a drop of lavender on your fingers and massage this like dip in your throat right here with lavender. And unless you need an adjustment and that's why you have hiccups and they're not going away, it'll stop your hiccups and it'll just kind of bring everything back to center and balance your diaphragm. So those are just kind of the things I like to use lavender for.